So, I hated this. I shouldn't have. I'm all for stories of a girl redefining who she is and getting into trouble with rock musicians. That's totally my thing, honestly. But I hated this. I said that out loud to an empty apartment several times during the runtime of the film. I see what it wanted to be, but it didn't succeed in doing that, which is a shame. But I think, like the movie says, it can reinvent itself later. Well, it reinvented itself. Good evening, my washers and dryers, and welcome to the laundromat. So, despite my original, very cold, very negative response to the 2020 film How to Build a Girl, I found myself drawn to the story enough that I wanted to watch it again. Over the course of watching it again, I came to the realization I was too harsh on the film the first time around. It turned out the film was tapping into a part of me that wanted that life. The film called me out, and I hated it for that. For additional context as to why we're discussing the film again, it's been kind of a weird couple of years of me finally understanding fantasy, understanding their function, their value, their mechanics. That is to say, it's like I'm learning to daydream all over again. I looked under the hood of fantasy and learned that How to Build a Girl had a lot of elements that I totally understood. Nay, desired. So for necessary disclaimers, over the course of this video, I will be discussing everything about the film that taps into something I at one point wanted or daydreamed about. This is not to say I condone everything that happens in the film. In fact, I'm cutting out several plot lines, and this is also not to say that I am currently dissatisfied with anything in my life. This is merely an exploration of fantasy and my deepest desires. Oh boy. In light of that, I also apologize if I seem awkward. I'm reading a script. I literally wrote this apology into it. This video is going to dabble into some personal things. And even though the details are obscured for the most part, I don't know. I apologize if I seem awkward throughout any part of this. So let's drop a load into the washing machine and let's get started. I don't know. I'll think of a cute little motif thing for the channel later. Joanna is initially not taken seriously by the other guys at the magazine because she is an excited teenage girl with no real-world experience. In fact, when she first meets John Kite, her earnestness and borderline naivete catch him off guard. She asks only the essential questions, and her pure delight instantly charms him. It is her genuine enthusiasm and complete honesty that leads to them sharing a lot of deeply personal things with no fear or hesitation. They feel safe and comfortable around each other. There's something really encouraging and really endearing about someone's complete lack of artifice being rewarded with a very deep and meaningful connection upon first meeting. Of course, I would love to meet someone famous and have, like, my natural effusive passion for life make them feel relaxed around me, and we inevitably become best friends. I think there's a tendency to stay guarded so we don't give away too much too quickly. We don't want to seem naive or childish or cringy in a public setting because for some reason being unironic verges on cringe, but like I would love to dive headfirst into what I find enjoyable and have it all work out. Not only earning a friendship with someone famous or someone popular or someone significant, but also having it stumble into like a burgeoning career. Even though I know it doesn't work out for Joanna at the magazine. Shh, we're moving on. Joanna meeting John Kite has many firsts for her. Her first big feature, her first big flight, her first interview, her first concert nestled on the side of a stage. And there's a brief scene right before John's concert starts that we see them running backstage hand in hand. And the glee that we see on both of their faces is palpable. The feeling of being the only person in the world and of sneaking around backstage, I'll own up to the fact that I do know what that feels like. And it's because I know what that feels like that I want to experience it again. I miss that feeling and being noticed and spirited away by a rock star. Like, that's the oldest fantasy in the book. The movie so perfectly captures the feeling of feeling like someone's singing directly to you and that the song is about you. And this fantasy and this daydream honestly may not have been fully realized until I myself understood what it felt like to crush on a musician to this degree. Like, crushing on an actor just is not the same. And I will take no questions on that at this time. You know it's true. As Joanna's star continues to rise, she has more money to spend on the people she cares about. So she's able to like buy a TV that her family doesn't have to rent. She's able to help get a better car for them. She's able to pay the rent. And this is honestly like a no-brainer of a fantasy, even though it's a little mundane. Like, I still contemplate how good it would feel to be able to take care of other people financially. Being comfortable financially is by no means a fantasy exclusive to me, but the way that fantasy is realized through this movie really resonates with me. Like, Joanna on a writer's salary is able to like run through the door with Chinese food, and just the excitement and the triumph that's on her face, like, that gets me in my soul. And my family supported me for a long time. My fiance has supported me throughout our relationship. And one of my goals in life is to be able to return the favor. I know life isn't a ledger, but it's really hard to not think of things that way. Being able to vicariously experience that, not only financial independence, but financial generosity, gets me. It's something that I really look forward to. Do you feel like you know me better? I hope this like makes you feel like you can connect with me. Later in the film, after Joanna walks away from like the Dolly Wilde persona, she writes an article about her experiences dealing with that fallout, and she submits it to a magazine. And it impresses the editor-in-chief, who in turn offers her a weekly column. Now, I have just like a regular job, and because of that, I've gotten to experience what it's like to move to a new city, even if I didn't like reinvent myself when I got there. So I understand how exciting it is to be somewhere new and to be like your own person there. At the same time, with this job, I still have the space to fantasize about clicking with some publication that my writing just like resonates with their team, and that writing job can guarantee living in a big city like London. And being in a position where what I say could connect with people and where it matters to them is also definitely appealing. Like, in the context of this sequence in the film, it's positive. The Joanna Morgan that we're reintroduced to at the end of the film is not the hated Dolly Wilde, and her words are meant to help, and that is significant in its own right. But more than that, that satisfies the feeling of belonging, of arriving, of feeling like my passions and my dreams and my talents have aligned to bring me where I'm exactly meant to be. People spend their whole life chasing that feeling, and most don't even achieve like contentment with where their life as it is. The last scenes of the movie revolve around Joanna tracking John down to his hotel so she can apologize to him properly. After she apologizes, they share a connection much more in line with their first encounter, and they come to the conclusion that romantic love is not necessarily what they need now. But John says he is happy to be her confidant as Joanna moves to London to start her professional career. There are a few people whose mentorship I crave, and people I know and people I don't know. And even more than that, like, I want to be friends with them. Like, if I had a chance to just hang out in a casual setting with some of my professors, that'd make my life. Hi, Dr. B. Sorry I didn't go to grad school. But if I had that opportunity, I'd be terrified because I feel like I would be a complete and utter dweeb. Like, what would we talk about? Would it be weird for them? Because I feel like in that moment, it'd be weird for me. But this fantasy takes care of that. It would be so easy to be friends with them. It would just roll off your shoulders and it'd be fine. It'd happen. It'd be magic. And I want to emphasize that this has nothing to do with a romantic connection. I know I've joked about like having romantic flings with rock stars in previous points and in previous videos. But this specifically is something totally different from that. I know this sounds like gushing, but I do really just want like that deep, meaningful friendship. I want that love and understanding that is so much more than infatuation, than butterflies and holding hands. I'll tell you what it is. I want that hug, and that's with a capital T and a capital H. You know exactly the kind of hug I'm talking about. It is the kind of hug where you just fit and you like inhale as you connect, and it isn't romantic or anything. It's just like a really significant character building hug. I might also be touch starved. Revisiting this movie has been a fascinating exercise in understanding myself. Honestly, I want to count that as a huge testimony to this movie, that it could evolve in my mind and serve a different purpose in the end. Even if I still stand by certain critiques I've made, I was too harsh on the film at first. Maybe I just watched it at the wrong time or in the wrong headspace. It still isn't my favorite movie, but it is one I'm starting to get. Maybe I was afraid to admit that these were daydreams that ambled through my mind because it seemed juvenile. Like fantasizing about being whisked away by Paul McCartney in the height of Beatlemania or hugging a professor who meant a lot to me. Like, that's kid stuff. Like, that's so baby. But I think embracing those parts of me made it easier to embrace this movie. How to Build a Girl is about exactly that. It is about the people, the events, and moments that make someone who they are, and how you're never truly done building yourself. How you're never truly done understanding a movie you disliked at first. I am by no means done understanding myself, but by really probing why I didn't like this movie, despite being so drawn to it, I understand myself a little bit more. And there's a lot of value in that, I think. And yeah, those are my thoughts on revisiting How to Build a Girl. I actually bought the book to see how the book compared, and I have to say, I think the movie does a better job of conveying the story, even if the book has some interesting prose. But a lot of the best lines from the book are included in the movie. So if you're curious about How to Build a Girl, go find the movie to rent somewhere. But what about you guys? Is there a film that you watched, didn't like, watched again, and you're like, maybe? What are your daydreams that you're comfortable sharing with the whole class? I hope your laundry is fresh and warm out of the dryer, and I hope you all have a lovely evening, and I will see you all next time.